We're taking a look at the Seattle Seahawks needs on today's video, going position by position. And remember, we're factoring in the team's free agents here. So pending free agents means you got a need at that particular position. And I want to emphasize positions. Sorry, coaches don't count for this one. All right, number one on my list is actually center, and that's because you got one competent one in Ethan Posick. Kyle Fuller wasn't great when he got to play this year, but Posick is a free agent this offseason. And if we're being honest, although I thought he started the year pretty well when that offense was on fire, struggled at points down the stretch, and I'll say outright bad against the LA Rams. He's the only guy you really got on your roster right now to play the position, and he's a pending free agent. Now, I'm not really factoring in positional value when it comes to these needs, but they got to figure out the center spot and the spots next to it too. Offensive guard is actually number 2 on my list. Should not be a huge surprise that offensive line is, in general, is something Seattle needs to take care of. Now, we'll talk about the tackles later on in today's video, but I want to focus in on the interior. Of course, we mentioned Ethan Posick. Damian Lewis, keeper at right guard. So that is one of your 2 spots on the interior I think you feel great about. Phil Haynes was really banged up this year. Maybe he's a guy, maybe he's not. I don't think you want to fully bank on him right now. You're not banking on Chance Warmack. Micah Iupati was okay, but he's often hurt. And even against the Rams, he's coming out for series, and that's just, I don't think, a good thing for an offensive line. I didn't think Jordan Simmons played that well. So you're good at right guard. Center and left guard, though, have got to be figured out if you're the Seahawks. That is critical to making your offense not be bad like it was down the stretch. Now, I got a whole bunch of more positions to go through here. Before I do, I want you guys to let me know what you believe the Seahawks' single biggest need is. I'm going to make this question the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break, take advantage, scroll on down, and let me know what you guys think. Number 3, we go to defense here, cornerback. DJ Reed's emergence was critical, but the reality is he was not supposed to be a starter for this team entering the year. Now, you'll get Marquise Blair back, and I think you keep him in that nickel role and hope he stays healthy this time around. But your top 2 guys this season were supposed to be Shaquill Griffin and Quinton Dunbar. Griffin was a bit up and down this year. He also battled through some injury stuff, so I think that's a factor in it. But he's a free agent. So are you going to pay him big-time money? Or are you going to try and franchise tag him? Do you let him test the open market? I think he can be a number 1 for you, but are you going to pay a premium for that? With a team that's not with a ton of cap space, it's a little tricky. As for Quinton Dunbar, man, I loved that trade at the time. You got a steal for him, and he played so well to open up the season. His first 3 games, right? Targets 24 times, allows barely 54% of them. No touchdowns, 4 pass breakups, an interception. But then he got hurt. He tried to come back, and he was benched at one point once he came back because he was not good enough to be out there at all, and he got beat a lot. That was problematic. So which Dunbar is it? Is it the first 3 games, the last 3 games? Is he healthy? He's also a free agent. Now you're trying to figure out, well, shoot, what are we doing at cornerback? You know, you can bring back Trey Flowers, Ugo Amadi. I think those guys as depth pieces. DJ Reed can be your cornerback too. Got to find a cornerback 1, though. I think you make an argument, by the way, that Shaquill Griffin is perhaps the Seahawks' most important free agent, but with a team with quite a few of them, there are a lot of different options you guys can go with here. We'll do a full free agency list as well, but let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Number 4, that is running back. As far as I'm concerned, there's a tier break, after number 3, 4, about through 4 to 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. This is because of the number of free agents on this roster. Now, I am a proponent of throwing the football more than you run it, except in the fourth quarter up big, pound that rock. Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde are both free agents. Carson was clearly the better one of that grouping there. And that leaves Alex Collins, who is technically already a free agent because he was on practice squad and therefore is immediately eligible to sign somewhere else because the NFL is weird this year. So he's technically not on the team anymore. But then you got Rashad Penny, who's always hurt. DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. Do you trust those guys? Do you not? You can get Chris Carson back on the cheap. You re-sign him, you're set in the backfield. But it's a little dicey right now. Number 5 is edge rusher. Now, Maybe you get Darrell Taylor next year, which would be a huge boost potentially for the Seahawks defense. But one of the key components here is actually Carlos Dunlap, who is under contract. However, even though he was awesome once he got traded, he has a $14.1 million cap hit for this upcoming season. That's a lot of money to pay an admittedly very good player, but was mostly a pass rush specialist and, of course, worked wonders for the organization. Now, Pete Carroll says he wants to keep Dunlap and kind of run it back at the edge rusher spot. But in order to run it back, there are some other pending free agents on that defensive line that I want to see what Seattle is able to end up doing. Now, Bruce Irvin technically is an edge rusher here, but Benson Mayowa is a free agent. Demontre Moore is also a free agent. So all of a sudden, if you lose all your pending free agents and Dunlap, it's L.J. Collier, Darrell Taylor, Alton Robinson. You can use, Rasheem Green at DT. I don't love that. If you keep Dunlap, keep Mayowa on the cheap, honestly, I think you're fine. But because of the uncertainty around Dunlap, I put edge rusher at number 4 on my needs list. Now, what's the bigger concern, or number 5 on my needs list, math. What's the biggest concern offseason-wise for this Seahawks team? Is it on the offense or is it on the defense? I think it's offensive line, then defense, and then kind of everything else on offense. But it's a little tricky for me. There are some key positions to be filled because Seattle has so many pending free agents. But get your votes in. O for offense, D for defense. Number 6, wide receiver. As I mentioned on one of our most recent videos when it comes to fixing the offensive passing attack here, you got DK Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett. Those two are awesome. The rest of your receivers, I think they're just a bunch of guys. Like David Moore's fine, but he's a free agent, by the way, and he's probably better as your number 4 receiver. Freddie Swain didn't do a ton. Philip Dorsett was injured the entire year. Who knows about Josh Gordon's future? Like, if you have Gordon as wide receiver 3, you probably feel better about it, but he's proven you can't count on him, unfortunately, and he's kind of a free agent. And we agreed to that deal and then got suspended, so maybe it tolls, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Either way, I'll put an asterisk by him because you got to treat him as if he's not on your roster right now. You got to get a good number 3 receiver. Bright side, it's a strong draft class to look in that direction if you're Seattle. Now, we're going to keep you guys covered on Seahawks news, rumors, draft buzz, free agency targets, and talking re-signings and all that kind of stuff. If you want to stay up to date and not miss a single video here on our Seahawks channel, hit that big red button and subscribe today. Now, I mentioned kind of getting another receiver there. You could also find a more dynamic tight end option. I like Will Dissly. He can start for you. Kind of thought Jacob Hollister didn't play that well after doing a lot better in 2019. Greg Olson's aging is a free agent. Maybe Colby Parkinson ends up being a piece for you. But if you don't re-sign Hollister, Wilson, and Olson, I think you can at least look for another option. Parkinson was a 4th-round pick. Dissly was okay this year. If in the event there's a dynamic tight end for you, be it in free agency or more likely in the NFL draft, sure. But I could also see a scenario where this particular position doesn't really get a bunch of upgrades because, again, a lot of other things to take care of. Number 8 is offensive tackle, and I think this is maybe more of a future need for Seattle. There's not much here at this position for 3 years from now. Like, Dwayne Brown's still playing well. I don't love Brandon Shell, but if you can set this up in a way where you upgrade at left guard and upgrade at center and make Brandon Shell your 5th best offensive lineman instead of, like, your 3rd best, that's a lot better, actually. That's going to work for an offensive line. So you can survive with Shell. I do want to find a different swing tackle. I don't think Chad Wheeler, Jamarco Jones, or Cedric Ogbuehi are really all that great. Jones is fine as, like, your offensive lineman 7, but if he's playing snaps for you, that means something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. So I will say this, though. Brandon Shell is not good enough to ignore an obvious upgrade. If you get the opportunity, go do it. But you don't have to do something right this second. I think he's okay enough. Now, today's show made possible by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use that promo code Seahawks125. It's right there. It gets you a 125%, shocker, right, deposit bonus. You put down $100, boom, extra 125 your way on top of whatever you put down. That's chatsports.com/bet, the promo code Seahawks 125. Let's talk linebacker now, my number 9 need here. I do like, for the most part, where this team is at. I love Bobby Wagner. Jordan Brooks played a lot better than I thought he was going to this year. I still got some concerns about him in coverage, but the only way to know for sure, is to play him more. I like Cody Barton, Ben Burke-Irvin, good depth right there. This really comes down to what they do at that strong side linebacker position. Bruce Irvin and KJ Wright are both free agents. But if you want to stick in a modern defense, you're only going to use that third linebacker 25% of the time. And KJ Wright is a very, very good football player. But you've invested a lot already at your linebacker position. Bobby Wagner, big-time contract. Jordan Brooks, first-round pick. Cody Barton, a third-round pick. Maybe just let those 3 run. And if you want to spend a day 3 pick on a linebacker, cool, no problem there. I do wonder, though, if it's in the best interest team-building-wise to give KJ Wright a big extension. So if you only want to pick one of these guys, who should be the linebacker 2 for this team, especially next season? Do you want to roll back with KJ Wright, who I will make note was awesome this year? Or is it time to give the young guy the reins, Jordan Brooks? Type KW for KJ Wright or JB for Jordan Brooks. Defensive tackle now, number 10 on my list. It's a little bit thin in terms of pure defensive tackles. It's Jaron Reed, Poona Ford, and Brian Monet / Cedric Lattimore, That's fine. Poona Ford's an RFA, so make sure you keep him because I love him. Jaron Reed's under contract. And Seattle can use LJ Collier and Rasheem Green enough at defensive tackle that with Brian Monet under contract, I think you're fine here. But you know what? If you want to keep an eye out for the future, that's okay as well. All right, big teardrop here for me in terms of the importance of the needs. Quarterback's number 11. Obviously, Russell Wilson is not going to go anywhere. Geno Smith, however, is a free agent. Alex Magoo and Danny Etling are on futures deals, so they'll compete for probably a practice squad spot next year. You probably should try to invest in a better backup quarterback, and you're kind of at the point, even though they're light on draft capital, keep looking around day 3. Maybe there's someone young that you end up liking there, but it's not as a starter, but a new backup quarterback could be a good choice for Seattle, or just re-sign Geno, and you're fine. Number 12, and to wrap things up here, that is safety. Now, long-term, you got to figure out what to do with Jamal Adams' contract, but Adams and Diggs are back under contract next year. You're good there. Those are 2 really good football players and starters. Ryan Neal, I was very impressed by him in Alabama, a limited playing time setup as a backup safety. Demarius Randall, Lano Hill are both free agents. Not super important there. So I think for Seattle, your top 3 is pretty much fine. Like you're in good shape there. And in a pinch, you can go play Marquise Blair or Ugo Amadi or DJ Reed at safety as well. But if you want to look for a 4th guy, be it cheap free agency signing or late draft pick, I'm fine with that as well. But it's not nearly as important of a need as some of the other ones we mentioned earlier.